So this is an introduction to the multiplayer map environment. This is the first of a series of packs that I will be creating. In this pack, you'll find a series of modular meshes that you can use for quick iterations on multiplayer prototyping. You have various walls, buildings, architectures used to help ease the process of creating your own environment. And the content folder you'll find in the design pack is categorized under architecture and the Harbinger meshes. I try to keep everything as organized as possible so you can easily find things and not have to worry about where you're last placed it. I want to go over quickly. Everything you see is using Nanite and Lumen. All meshes are using instant static mesh within blueprints to help for optimization. So it's very dense and also optimized. The only thing you have to worry about mainly is translucency. I'm not sure if Epic is working on that to try to mitigate the need for better optimization with translucency. So you'll see that within the water and then some of the glass meshes. Within each mesh, there are, as you can see, quite a substantial amount of nanite of triangles and polygons. Is using the master material, and also each mesh has a minimum of 3 LODs that you can utilize for optimization purposes. In this scenario, I've created master blueprints. Everything is pretty much categorized under essential nodes, so they're easy to find within the event graph. Everything I use is organized. I try to keep it as clean and readable as possible. For those coming from Unity, I use similar to Prefabs, where you can just drag and drop and use interior and exterior settings. You'll be able to check on the blueprint. If they're interior, you can use certain meshes to utilize those functions. In the server graph, I have the prefab building details. It's already set up for reliability on multiplayer servers, so helps the ease of use. I didn't want to do everything for you. I wanted to just give you a foundation. And under here you have the reference to the BP essential variables, and it's just a blueprint component I created. You can place them in any blueprint. Just come up and type BPC essential and you can drag and it'll come to in any profile. You can use them within the characters or any blueprints that allow it. So you can find this in the content browser like this. You just right click on it and it brings you directly to the essentials blueprint component. Now, if you want to look through these and go and see what the breakdown is of them, I set some camera limits for the third person and FPS, so you'll be able to switch between them just by pressing C on the keyboard or right clicking on a thumbstick. The blueprints is set up to where it's just an essential. There's nothing too strenuous as far as complications when it comes to finding these things out, but sometimes it's hard for newcomers or people transferring over from Unity to decipher between the blueprints. So I try to keep them as streamlined as possible. So all you have to do is pretty much just drag and drop the blueprint into the scene. So we have a collection of blueprints under the master, and the base. The base are just the master class, and then the subclass is just children of the base class. Each one is categorized in different sections for ease of use. So for an example, with this barrel, you'll be able to put the name display on there and check whether it's enabled for interiors or exterior design. The variations within this is just, I have set up to 3 different variations. You can have 3 different types of meshes and you can just swap them out. It's easy. So you have an interior and then no interior, just like a closed off environment. You just duplicate the assets if you want quick iterations. So we just, for demonstration purposes here, what we'll do, drag in a barrel here. And off over to the right, it has the same setup details for the prefab settings. You can also change it here and just change the variations. So you can add any static mesh and just put them however many you want in there. So you can create duplicates of these. So we'll change between variations 1, and then you go to 2 and 3. You can just duplicate them and add as many as you want. So it helps, each one is optimized and they're using instant static mesh. So it doesn't matter which static mesh you use, they already have a hierarchy set up for it. Next, I want to showcase the master materials and the instances. So under here you have I have a master landscape material functions, and custom materials that I've set up. Under the master material, so you have the landscape. And these are various custom materials which are for easier use. If you want to learn a little bit more about the material setups, I can do a separate video tutorial on how to set up a master material. The main one you have to worry about on this one are the surface materials. One is 2-sided and one is just a standard. These are pretty much used on every mesh. Some of them have different meshes depending on the use cases. Now within the master material, all materials are using the new substrate material setup. So they're being converted from Unreal 4 over into the new Unreal 5 Strata substrate. In order to break it down easier, I just use a break material attribute and go from the legacy to the new one. This anime shader, Cel-Shader that you see, this is like a little bonus that I added. So you can go from PBR to a cel-shaded and more anime aesthetic look. I know it looks a little bit complex. You don't have to worry too much about this because it's already set up to where it's just drag and drop. With these material instances, you can just drag them onto the mesh that you want and just change out the settings here. I'm using material functions to kind of streamline the process. The setup that you're seeing, each texture has 2 variations. And you have the normal base, the normal map overlay, which is just a second normal map on top of that one. And then you have the 2 blend and the overlay 2 blend for the anime normals. So if we go into here, each texture has a standard texture and a virtual texture map. They are all in the same category on the demo level, prototype, and textures. I had to duplicate some of the textures and then convert them over to virtual textures in order for them to be utilized in this way. The main reason why I did that was because coming out the box, you can use your own custom textures, but Quixel Megascans tends to use virtual textures by default, and you'll be able to switch over between the virtual textures and or your own custom texture without having to set it up. So I went through that process and did it for you. All you have to do is just check the box, and you'll be able to swap between Megascans or your own custom textures if you want that. So here you just swap, and then it'll just change out the virtual textures that we have here. I have my own custom textures that I've imported and used for various materials, including the water shader, and which is a whole nother tutorial that could be done. It takes a little longer to create these. The overlay has added a strength to it. It's hard to see here because of the compression, but you'll be able to go. It goes up to 1,000 as far as the scaling wise. I'm gonna showcase the anime Cel-Shader. So on here, there's a blend that you can go to, and it has 2 bands, so you get the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows for the cel shading. And this will be convert over to any static mesh that you have. You just drag and drop. It has been tested out on human characters and just standard static mesh, so it's a solid workflow. And at the Vorna texture, I use the procedural noise texture, which is similar to the setup inside of Blender 3D, to have a similar look to their noise patterns, which you can use on the landscape as a world aligned texture. But if you want to use this just to add a little bit of variation within your meshes. And then you can change the colors for the Fresnel. I'm not sure how it's coming across on the YouTube side of things. And then we can turn that off. And for object blending, it's just a quick pixel depth offset that helps the meshes blend into the landscape if you're needing them to have more of a seamless look, using the dithering and anti-aliasing. And other than that, it's pretty much it. So it's just a quick workflow, and I'll be creating various maps in the future. And if there's anything you would like to see, like any type of environment that you would suggest, I will be doing photorealistic and anime style maps in the future to help streamline the process of multiplayers. This is Darius with Nemesis GS2, and thank you for watching.